normally we have to design a strategy. Would it be like the first 100 units or 200 units we will build ourselves? From that point on, we will build in China or Europe or US, something like that, or some signing agreement that they will keep the IP if anything happens to us or something, and they will be comfortable on doing this. Okay, if anything happens to Pedro's company, we know that we can still do this.
Any other questions? Burning questions?
Hi, I'm Luca from Austria, and we're from Cairntech, and we offer technology to upcycle stone fruit pits, which are currently waste in the food processing industry. And so now two processors approached us, and they would like to integrate our technology into their plants. So do you have any suggestions how this deal might look?
Do you have intellectual property around your process?
We're working on a patent, so right now. But
okay, you haven't filed. I guess it depends, right? If the company is a company that has its own intellectual property, a lot of processors, they're not going to care. So like that's the first thing you have to decide, whether or not they're a company that's going to care about your IP or they're just going to use your process. And then I would be surprised if they didn't have a standard procurement process or a procurement agreement. And I would ask them, honestly, you always think as an entrepreneur that you have to do all the work yourself. But these big companies have large legal teams. Take advantage of it. Like honestly, it's going to be way cheaper for you to use their legal team than for you to hire a lawyer. Like, I don't know how it is now, but our high-end lawyer was $600 an hour. So like I used to call him, but like, okay, I have 3 questions for you. You know, like so you have to really take advantage of actually outside resources, and then sometimes that's actually from your customer. So I'd ask them for the standard agreement. I'd be surprised if they don't have one, and use that as a starting point. Yeah. Have you guys discussed your procurement side of things? If you've gotten that far, by the way, congratulations, because that's a big step. Yeah.
Well, we did some in the beginning some agreements, but that's it.
Like joint development agreement.
Yeah.
So are people familiar? So I would say in the spectrum of maturity of your company, procurement is the last stage. Actually, that's a very good. A joint development agreement is actually in between. How many people are familiar with JDA? Joint development agreement, JDA. Have you ever heard of one? Okay, so like as a startup company, like after you get financing stuff, one of the first targets should be to get a joint development agreement with a company. So you could talk about your own experience. How did you get there?
Yeah, so normally we need to establish how the IP is going to work, because there's some learnings on what we are doing, because we are testing our own technology onto the blades or whatever structures they have, and there will be some learnings, and we need to decide who is keeping the IP, what's going to be happen from that point, and how we're going to be selling the structure, the business model, and all of this stuff. Mm-hmm. So that's a lot of the things that they want to know from our side.
And who structured the JDA? Was it the company or was it your team?
It would be some negotiation between us. Yeah.
Has anybody been approached or tried to do a joint development agreement with a big corporation so far? Okay. Well, okay, so the next thing here, we had discussed this interactive thing. We're not there yet, but as a framework, I'd like to kind of go with just these first 2 rows. You guys, almost everybody said that they had a company. So I'd like to find out a little bit about your company and why you're interested in just being a company or corporation you want to work with in your company. So tell me what your company is, what they do, and what corporation you want to work with. Yeah? Okay, yeah.
Everyone, I'm Yuha. We are from Greenway, which is making 100% compostable tableware, actually made from the palm leaf, from coconuts and oil palm. So it's compostable and edible. Yeah, okay. You can compost together with the food waste. So
it's a plastic that's...
No, it's totally coming from all agricultural waste.
Agricultural waste.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so we got a the corporate that we targeted is actually F&B, like McD's and Starbucks. So for instance, our drinking straw, which is called palm straw, making from the leaf itself. Yeah. So actually, it's edible, compostable.
Mhm.
So it can withstand and cheaper than paper and current bioplastic. So that is we will want to try to approach to the big corporate, but what we are afraid is the term of the payment. Yeah, term of it. Yeah, that's
The terms, their
the
terms.
terms, their terms, not our terms. Yeah. So
You're afraid that they'll be too aggressive, or?
yeah, that's one of them. Yeah,
Okay.
we are
And
concerned
who,
about.
have you talked to anybody at the company yet?
We did try. We didn't approach them, but some company approached us. The big corporate approached us.
Yeah.
Just we don't think that we managed to supply that in that kind
Bulk,
of amount.
yeah, of course.
Yeah. So we are kind of a situation like we're going to decline them or accept them. Yeah, that's our situation we are facing now.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, this is good. We'll follow. We'll come back to you.
Okay. Thanks.
This is exactly what we wanted to know. That's good.
Okay.
So I understand the problem.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Magnus. I'm from Sansero. We're from Norway. We make data analytics software for power grid operators. And right now we have a research and development project with one of the major power grid operators in Norway. And sort of the next step is to actually commercialize that through a paid pilot, which is why we're here.
Is what?
Which is why we're here in this session.
Okay.
Can you just tell us a little bit about the challenge on dealing with the corporate, on getting this pilot running?
Sure. So I mean, so far we've been, we've had good luck with actually getting into the organization. We've talked to the right people. We have an official R&D project going on with them. But then, because they're very interested in innovation and they want to be like at the forefront in their field in Norway. So for us, just taking the next step into actually setting down the framework around a paid pilot project, which will start generating some revenue for us, and so we'll have to have everything that's contractual in place. We're sort of a blank slate for us, and we don't really know
How to
what
do
the
it.
next step is. Yeah.
But are they willing to do the work for you, put together the agreement?
Yeah, I mean they have definitely run pilots before, but we just want to make sure that we have the sort of the flexibility we need to operate, and also that we have a good framework around the agreement in order to actually have a successful pilot with them.
Okay, you guys are similar space,
Okay.
actually. Both have to make the next step.
Yeah. So that's us.
Okay, that's great.
Hi, my name is Arthur. We have a small business here, Retro Mixture. We sell predominantly business to consumer product. We were trying to get into retail, but that failed. So at the moment, 99% of what we're doing is through e-commerce, through our own online store and Amazon. So I'm just listening to general advice. How do you deal with corporates? I mean, retail is a very specific niche, but
You have a retail product,
yes,
and you sell online at the moment.
yes,
That's great.
it's working out.
Yeah. Okay.
So I don't actually have a company
You
at
don't
the
have a
moment. I'm just working on patents now at the moment. It's the freezer, we say it's a dispensing system, we say, between bottles, between sprays also. That's where you buy the actual refills, we say, and load into the bottles, we say. End user does buy the bottle first, we say, keep reusing, we say, the refills. Freezer is an anagram, we say, of the actual process, like pressure, load, easy, apply, squeeze, and to refill. So I'm working along the lines of that, we say, and my patents also. I have a few, we say, interested people, we say, so I'm just here to see what the
So what the next step is.
chain of
Okay.
action is.
Good.
So I'm together with this guy.
Okay, you guys are together,
Yeah.
both from Norway.
Sorry, do you mind speaking up just a little?
Okay, I'll
Please.
start.
Thank you.
G'day, my name's Jackson from Fuel Switch. So we're focused on accelerating the deployment of renewable jet fuel into aviation.
Okay.
So it's a low emission fuel. and we're actually focused on really the interface between the passenger and the airline of enabling the passenger to pay a bit extra to buy the fuel because it costs more. So, and we're going to use accounting software, blockchain technology to provide that transparency to the passenger, because passengers don't trust an airline giving them extra money that they're actually going to spend that on the fuel.
Right.
So, and I've been working with the domestic airline in Australia, and I've got a initiator-influencer relationship there, and he's offered that within a few weeks get him in front of the deputy CEO, and I'm kind of panicking a bit because, well, he's probably a bit further up than probably the maybe decider level, and still yet to work out exactly what I'm going to say. And while we're on this sort of tangent, I'll probably pose a question to Pedro. Around this Climate-KIC program, we have to do this customer discovery, and we ask these questions of clients. And what you've been indicating is you might get some advice from those initial people you speak to, and then you go back and tweak your product or whatever. Meanwhile, we need to be talking to all those other people, and how do you actually get in front of all those other people and have those early stage questions? Like, what would your advice be to do that, rather than spending 3 months speaking to one, coming back, moving down the chain, getting a whole lot of new sort of things you have to deal with, and then next thing you know, it's a year and a half and you've burnt a whole lot of cash.
Yeah, in a short way, if you have the chance to present your case to the CEO, it's not every day that we get that chance, so we need to prepare really well. So normally what I try to do, it's before I have that chance, prepare really well. I do my homework, and I do know the company really well, and I speak to the operational levels to understand really well the problems. So when I go to the CEO and I present them, I'm presenting him his company and the problems that they have in the company that normally it doesn't go to this level. So I'm giving him some value. Okay, you know that you have this company, you have this kind of revenue and this and this and this, but you are having these kind of problems at this level that we can fix it, and in the end we will make you get more revenue. So the CEOs, they are more, and the financial guys are more on the finance. So they want to see their revenues going up or the cost going up in the end. So it's about numbers. But we need to show them that they have that problem that normally they don't know, because the one that knows is his boss, and there's a lot of layers of bosses here. So we need to prepare really well, and we need to show to the CEO that we understand really well their problems. I think one of the mistakes we do when we present to corporates is that we are talking about really generic stuff. And they say, well, they don't know our case. But if you show them that you know really well his company, you will get his trust, and it's trust and credibility, because he learns that you do your own really good work. So that's a point for him to, okay, I did like the work that this guy did preparing the meeting. Let me put working, talking with the boss of that operational guys. I would do that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So hi everyone, my name is Boldi. I'm from Hungary. My startup name is Intelligent Traffic Control. We created a software that enables us to change the traffic lights based on live happenings, not on the current pre-programmed time periods. So basically we have two possibilities now: to go to a large company and try to sell them, or to go directly to the government, so like the municipalities, local municipalities. And actually we were already in one city and tried to talk with the vice mayor, and also we approached IBM and Siemens. For us the general problem is that they don't take us too seriously, because we are two 18 years old students who are doing this, and we don't have any, results yet, and that's the main problem for us. But I came here to know more about how to talk to these people, because the vice mayor told us that they would be happy to help, and I should make an offer, a direct offer to the mayor of that city. But we are still contemplating whether it was rather to go to IBM or Siemens and to sell them our product.
This is very close to
Yeah. I think I had kind of the same problem, not with the governments, but different kind of industries to work with. So on the wind turbines, we could sell it to the operators or we could sell it to the manufacturers. And one of the things we needed to understand is how much value you create for each one. So if I can create much value for one of the instances, probably that's where I want to focus there. But then it comes for the trust and credibility thing. So we are small, how can we talk to them? Probably we need to demonstrate, and to demonstrate probably it's easier to go with some others. So in our specific case, we are partnering and demonstrating with the operational guy that owns turbines, creating value for them, and then going to the OEMs and saying, look guys, we did this, it's money, we are creating value for them, but we want to work with you. So these guys, that's your clients, they are making money with this. So if you get our technology, you will make more money and help your client. So you get a competitive advantage. So it's about getting a plan and sticking to a plan. But I think you need to understand where do you create more value. Who has more value with your...
That's basically, that was my thought too. What's your business model? How will you make money? And depending on what the answer is to that is going to determine what person you pursue.
Yes.
If you want to just get your software bought, well, that's a business model. It's a different business model than building out a marketplace. I would say that if you could get one municipality or city or two or three, now you're building a customer base.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, that's more valuable than just selling software.
Yes, that's our plan. Exactly. Just it's hard to go there with like a small startup and like say that here is this and you have to change it. So we have to prove it and it's quite hard.
You need to get one person to take a chance.
Yes. Thank you.
Hi, I'm from France, and we offer a service of reusable crates to transport fresh produce in it. So we provide the crates and we wash it and we track. This kind of service it exists in retail, but we are in the wholesale market for the wholesalers. And we want them to expand to retail, and we already met a French retailer, and he was not interested at all by the environmental aspect. He just said, oh, it's very good, we have disposable packaging, we're very happy with. So we don't know what to say to him. Another thing it's that we were approached by a big company of transportation that use reusable crates for car industry. So he approached us, but for me it was like maybe we can buy them if they have the food market, but they didn't really say it. But for me it was obvious. So I don't know if we have to continue to discuss with them or not, or I don't know.
What's your value proposition to the retailer?
It's cheaper because now today disposable packaging are very expensive. We don't know, but for example, polystyrene crate in France is between 2 and 3 euros the piece of crate, and that is one use. So it's totally wasted. It's 2 or 3 euros that is just spent. It's ecological because today all the waste, packaging waste, ends at the restaurant or the shops that are delivered by the wholesalers, and they are incinerated. It's just goes to it's collected by the cities and it goes to incinerator. So the value proposition is to say restaurants, they have a lot of waste and they don't want anymore. So with us, they don't have waste anymore and it's cheaper for you.
Yeah, I would just comment. Normally, when we are doing a B2B, the ecological thing would not be kind of value proposition. In the end, the decision-making units are financial guys that want to know how much more I'm getting in the end of the day, and that's the guys that decides. But of course, it's a trend. If you can get a plan with the marketing strategy and saying, okay, you're going to be more greener here, it can help on the decision-making unit. But in the end, it's about revenue and costs.
And you basically went to a decider, and he said, not interested, basically. And you're trying to figure out how to get him interested.
Yes, we say that it's cheaper, and it's just it's ecological, yes, but it's not what we say. It's just that it reduces waste for your shops, for your customers, and for people that cares about waste. It's more this competitive advantage. It's not the fact that it's ecological, it's the fact that the new shops won't spend time to manage all this waste because there won't be any waste. But
So
he just said, okay, we have cardboard boxes. There is one guy that every day we pack these cardboard boxes, and he was happy with it. Just
And why was he happy with that?
He just said, okay, there is one guy that I employ to pack the cardboard boxes. And when we said that if you don't have any more cardboard, he said, but it's okay, I have this guy. Okay. Very strange answer for me.
So this is a perfect example for like why you have to, I call it working the chain. So like if you look at your initiator, influencer, you went right to a decider that he didn't care because it's not like a burning problem for him. So you have to find somebody who is an influencer. So who does he care to listen to? Is it his customers? Well, you could sit outside his grocer and hand out flyers to customers. You know your guy doesn't recycle his boxes? Then his customers go to him and say, hey, how come you don't recycle? That's working the chain, right? So you have to figure out how to work the chain. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Martin from Plastel, and we make instruments for sorting plastic waste, low-cost one. And the companies we are trying to approach, and we are now quite early in the process, we're just starting talking to them, are large waste processing companies. So we just recently got the contact who will help us to get to the right people. So yeah, I don't have any specific questions, but at this time we are gradually starting to understand what are the actual motivations inside those companies, and just figuring out that maybe what they are actually more interested in is not building recycling plants, just building incinerators because it's so much cheaper. Why would you recycle? So yeah.
Okay, and what do you tell them?
It's actually a really hard question to answer. So if you didn't have all the environmental regulations in Europe, they would all just go somewhere behind the city. So yeah, that is one of the main challenges. So you, for example, by introducing our instrument, you create secondary material which has some value, but the value is relatively low. It is expected to increase over time with increasing oil prices, but so on and so forth. But there is this issue, and you create jobs. You can give jobs to people with low qualifications, which is interesting for the council. So you don't need any qualifications whatsoever for this job.
So you should be looking at the government.
Yeah, we are kind of trying to find the right people to talk to, the right entities to talk to. Yeah, well, as I said, we are quite early in the process.
Okay. To come back to you, because I didn't feel like we answered your question, which was you have an issue of you have a big corporation that wants to buy what you have, but you're not sure whether or not you can meet your order.
Yeah, and also their term of payment.
Their term of payment. What's wrong? What's the issue with the term of payment?
Because some big corporates, their term of payment is like 180 days. Yeah. So it's like, for us as a small startup, it's like...
Where are you located?
In Malaysia.
You're in Malaysia?
Yeah, I'm Malaysia.
In the US this is not a problem because as soon as you have a purchase order from them, you can go get financing to cover your books.
I think yes, we are still
By the way, that's a high quality problem.
Yeah. Good problem to have, yeah. 180 days is quite tough for us.
Yeah. Every startup it's tough for, but that means that's a good position to be in.
But they can still make you go bankrupt, right? So
Yeah, sure, definitely. Once we
You know what's 1,000 times 0. So so you go bankrupt. Because who cares? You don't have anything. That's the beauty of being a startup, is taking risk. The primary advantage of a startup is you can afford to take risks because you don't have anything. That's why companies don't take risks. So, go ahead.
You mentioned earlier a JDA or any sort of contract you sign, there may be something in there that your client asks you to lock you in for a period of time, or for you not to go to their competitor, because you're selling them a competitive advantage and they don't want to lose that competitive advantage to the guy next door. What would be your advice about how to approach negotiations with those terms, and for how long would you do it, that type of thing? Because they could send you bankrupt in a way, or you're limited in your revenue just from them when you can't go to elsewhere in the market because you told them you would.
Yeah.
Any tips?
You can price it. That's how I would do it. What's the value of being exclusive?
Okay.
So you go back to them and be like, you need to pay for the value of exclusivity.
Okay.
That basically it's a financial thing. You actually don't have. It's not even a negotiation to say like, this is what it's worth for exclusivity, and this is how much extra you have to pay for that exclusivity. And don't make it about. Don't make it a haggle. Make it just matter of fact. This is the cost of it.
Yeah.
And this is how much extra you need to pay for that. And then you'll see if they're serious or whether they're just trying to push you. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say on our industry, it works like this. Normally when you push a new technology to some of the big manufacturers, they first want to see it proven, and after it works, they want to check how they can create more value with it, and they don't want to teach you how to do it for you to sell to their competitors. So normally they would propose some exclusivity on the first years, or probably in local markets. And so I would say that can be a good thing, because normally they are ready to pay for that exclusivity, for you not going to sell to the other guys.
For early stage, it's good, generally speaking.
And you can develop much better and get there a partner, kind of a partner.
Yeah, that's true.
But I wouldn't say it's a negative thing. It's you need to know how to negotiate with them and get a good deal for you.
Hi, can I ask a question around this exclusivity thing? So, as Max for Biokind, we make sustainable protein for the aquaculture industry. So we've been approached by a few corporate VCs, so customer VC arms. And say, for example, we did take an investment from one of these. Would that lock us into exclusivity? Without exclusivity signed, it's just the competitors don't want to support the competitor.
That's a complicated question. You have that.
Yeah, I think I didn't understood really well the last part.
So, say we took investment from one of our customers,
okay,
one of their VC arms, then would we kind of lock ourselves into exclusivity inadvertently, because their competitors, our other customers, wouldn't want to support?
So I would just comment one thing. We need to be really careful getting investment from our client if it's the only investment. I would go.
That's a point though, right? If it's the only investment.
Yeah.
Is it your only investment?
So this is hypothetical at the moment. It could be. It's not. We're not like at term level or anything. That's just introduction conversation.
I would say that the goal of the client is always to buy it cheaper. The goal of institutional investor is to get bigger your value, right? The ideal thing would be to get after getting I have this deal with my client that wants to invest, and get the institutional investor here to push him against the wall. He cannot do, because I saw a lot of corporates corporate clients investing on companies, and they were the only investors, and they shut off the money, and these startups, they are dead, and the client got the IP and all of this for not much money. So yeah.
So I did a lot of venture capital. I think I did 100 pitches for my Series A, and then Series B, and inevitably you get a term sheet from somebody and it says no shopping it. But now that I'm older, I know that's that's what they say, and the first thing you do is shop it. So I would never say no to any VC ever. I always say, I would love to give me a term sheet. If you get a term sheet from a corporate VC, you can go to any other venture capitalist and say, here are terms from a corporate who's actually interested in this. So if you have the discussion, keep the discussion going. It's super valuable to have an offer. It sets the floor on any financing deal. So even if you decide not to go with them, continue.
Okay, thanks. I've been in that situation. It wasn't my startup, but I worked there, and it was a client that was looking to invest. They didn't invest yet, but they played a very dirty game because as an investor, they would get access to all the finances and all the strategy and everything, and then as a client, they could put pressure because they had the knowledge, so they would be driving the price down until just the level where you would be going bankrupt, basically. So, and there are many, many more dynamics where it just very, like, they can play it very dirty, especially when they're so big that they can afford to burn whatever it is you have, even if it, like, in every case that it's not best case scenario for them, they can just throw you.
So this is in fact happening with one of my companies I used to consult to. She's in semiconductor business, and she's got a term sheet from Samsung. And she's also like a 5-person company. And so they're just basically extending the signing of the actual investment because they know as a startup you're not making money, so you have a burn rate. And the mistake that she made was not getting a second term sheet, right? Because the only thing that will drive a big corporation, right, to make a decision is the threat of losing out. So you have to get a second term sheet.
I'm working for the German Environmental Ministry. We promote climate mitigation projects and adoption. But besides, we are having that idea to produce paper out of seagrass, but we are at a very early stage, like research and development. And our biggest challenge now is like approaching big paper mills and companies. And like my question is, how do we approach them in a professional manner? So because they are doing this since many decades, like the paper industry is such a long tradition. And so yeah, like we are now in that stage, how do we approach them in such an early stage? But we need like cooperation, like support, you know.
What did you do?
I can share my experience. So normally when I want to come in a new company, of course I need to do the homework of understanding what are their problems and what are their goals in the future. And then I try to meet one of the guys that are more open to innovation. So normally these guys more open to innovation are the guys that travel more and that are in forums, looking for other technologies and looking for what's out there. So I try to see what are the guys that are speakers in some forums, and I know, okay, this is the guy I want. I don't do cold intros, so I try to see in my network who knows this guy. So I get someone that's in his network and puts me in contact with this guy. So this is the first approach, and then from this guy, I try to learn better the company and what they want, so that I can build a plan, and then I will learn from him what is the decision-making unit. So who should I propose this to? And one of the things we need to do with these big corporations is not asking them what to do with them. We need to present a case, and this is what we want to sell to you at this price. You're going to make this money. All of this has to be done on our side. But we need to plan how to get into that company, how to learn from that company, who is to present in that company. And normally it's finding that, I would say that angel inside of the company that believes in our project and can sell our project inside. I don't know if you have any comment then.
Yeah, I mean, with our portfolio companies with the Cyclotron Road, one of the things that we did as our program was we forced our teams to go out and get advisors, and they had to be from the industry that they were going after, to bring them in, and then we would use my network. I would use my own network to get very high-level advisors. So we had a company that was doing heat engines. So I got the former CTO of Cummins, which is I don't know if you guys know Cummins yet, but it's like the 5th largest engine manufacturer in the world. to come and be on their board. And then so you try to just get, because you guys are young, these older people, they want to work with you. So you recruit people to be, you just say like, I need a mentor. And that's how I would start. And then the mentors help you work the chain. And they can actually get you anywhere along this chain, all the way to the decider. But they help, I mean, if you have good mentors, they help you, prepare. Yeah.
Thank you.
So I'm just curious, in this group, how did you get to your customer?
We actually take part in the international exhibition and conference. So by promoting our products, so they actually got a lot of international customers and also even our lockers, big F&B corporates. So we're actually on the news.
You're in the news?
Yeah, on our lockers. Television something, so they see that and then they approach us. Yeah, so that's what we getting approached. Yeah. And one more is actually Malaysia government will start to ban the single-use plastic early next year, 1st January. So yeah. So
so they're really interested. Yeah. They have a strong. That's really important.
That's our.
That is.
Yes.
Yeah. How about in Norway?
We were actually, we're all students at the same master's program in Norway. That's where we met. And the whole master's program was approached by this company because they were interested in students who wanted to sort of develop technology together with them. So it was an official collaboration between the university and the company. And then we are a spin-off of that.
Yeah. I said, don't follow the Norway model. They're very progressive. It's not like that elsewhere. Actually, so the investor in my company, my first investor, was Norsk Hydro.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so like I'm very familiar with, now no longer Norsk Hydro, but yeah. How about in Australia? How did you guys get to the table?
Well, through my sort of day job, I've been able to work with the airline for a long time. So I focused on building biorefineries in the state that I live in and work for, and worked heavily with the airline who wants to see those facilities.
So you had pre-existing relationships, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys ever hear of Zappos? Zappos, they sell shoes online. You ever hear the story about how it got started and how they really got launched? So the guy, he just hated the fact he couldn't get the tennis shoes that he wanted. So he decided to start an online store. And the biggest decision he made was his first hire. His first hire was the buyer from Nordstrom's. Do you guys know Nordstrom's here? Probably not. It's a very large clothing retail store in the United States. So that guy probably buys a couple $1 million worth of shoes every year. So he basically he brought in his first employee, had a huge Rolodex. So like the way he worked this chain is taking what might normally be a mentor and making him an employee or a co-owner of the business. So that's another way to do this fast if you've got a good product. But in your case, you're already got the network. So, and how about you?
It was network too.
Network.
From school.
From school. Okay. Any more questions? How many people are trying to get government grants?
Grants.
Grants? And how do you do that?
You pitch.
You pitch? You pitched?
Equity free.
Really?
For 10K, 20K, not a lot. But
Oh.
it helps you get started. Have the first prototype.
And what government?
Malta.
What government?
Malta. Government of Malta.
Okay. And you can pitch to get money?
Yes.
Really?
It's probably European funding, right? Or is it like local?
Some of them are local, some of them are local and European, depending on the incubation center or the accelerator that you're applying. But normally, you can get the first seed funding to help you get started, which is always good.
What was your experience? Did you get money from Portugal?
Yeah, we got kickoff money from some early stage VCs and some business angels. It was enough to get us developing the proof of concept and all of this and validating the market. And now we've been going after subsidies, some grants, European grants, because it's equity free, because we are on the right stage for it. We are still before VC money to scale up to different markets, and it's free money.
This hasn't been discussed, tendering. We do that sometimes for the government, so not subsidies, but tendering, or is that a grant?
What do you call that? Tendering?
A tender.
Oh.
It's not an English name, it's in Dutch, a tender. It's when the government has to subcontract something.
Ah, okay.
They have to launch a call, and then you have to subscribe to the call, and the best offer wins.
I see.
Is it like
It's a grant.
It's similar, but yes.
But do you actually provide a product or service in the tender?
We do that for government sometimes, yes. And then it's a slightly different process because it's objectively scored, but in effect you just need to know the people who objectively score. So you need to make friends with the government.
So I know in the US you can hire a lobbyist, and it works. It's effective. We definitely did. I would say for every $1 spent, we got $20 in government money. So highly effective, but it's costly. It's costly. I don't know how in Europe effective it is. Not at all.
You can sometimes get advisors who are going to help you draft the application so that it ticks all of the boxes, and then they will take a cut.
I see.
But I don't know how they. You can also draft it yourself if you have some experience.
Yeah. Like a small business grant or something that they give in
There's
the UK?
different options.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I think here in Scotland there's also the Smart Grant, which is 100k for like technology with potentially big impact, right? But I don't know the details.
Well, and we have like EU funding from European Commission H2020 programs, which you have phase 1 that is grants you 50k just to develop a feasibility study, and then you can go for the H20 the phase 2, and it's from 500k to 2.2 million, 2.5 million. Yeah. Yeah, SME instrument, and then you have FTI, that it's a fast track to innovation, normally a tender with 3 different countries, 3 different companies. And I would say that the most important thing for these grants is the validation from the market. So if you can collect a lot of letters of recommendation from your clients, from your partners, from suppliers, from R&D institutions, that gets you the credibility and trust that the juries need to get these things going. But I think I see a lot of innovations in these events, and I think this money is to support the innovations and bring these innovations to the market. So I think we should go on more to these kind of grants. Because when I look to big corporations, and I see they have this R&D department, and they survive most from grants. I know big companies get more grants than small SMEs or startups that would need more.
Yeah, not to be negative, but I have to say that big corporations are not terribly interested in new innovation unless there is a regulation coming that they have to and this to what your issue you came, that's the norm. I hate to say. That's why you have to be pretty creative in breaking through. If there's not a regulation driving the adoption of a new technology, it's super hard. It's super hard. Pushing a string, I like to say. It's like pushing a string. It's really tough. And then so he's doing the hard path, right? And he has to show the value proposition because they're not motivated. Wind companies are not motivated for his software. I mean, yeah, they like to save money, but like.
It's always about managing the risk, as you said in the beginning. So, okay, there's some value proposition, but they need to see it really well demonstrated. It's like the aviation company.
Yeah.
If you develop something for them, you need to test during 10 or 15 years until they adopt it. And
to make you even more depressed, so I work in the oil and gas business, and the metric for decision making in oil and gas is two-year payback on investment. So like you have to go through and you show them the spreadsheet, and so like we have a technology that has a payback under 2 years, and even then they're not that super interested because it's new, and because so I'm working with a company, it's $2.5 billion a year, and we might change their balance sheet by 40 million. They're like, that's a round up there for us, right? Even though the payback is good, you know, strong value proposition, you know, mitigates their emissions, like everything. So it's tough. It's tough. You have to have, like, if there were a regulation saying that they could no longer burn gas in the United States and emit it, then I would be really popular overnight. But it's tough before that. Yeah, I'm in kind of the same boat right now, like trying to build slowly to get to that point where, when there is a regulation, I hope, the world doesn't burn first, we'll be ready. That's the other piece of it. You got to be lucky.
Yeah.
Or move to Norway, because they seem to get it.
Yeah, because corporations don't go at the speed that the startup goes, and we need to match this and get creative on how to deal and engage with these companies and make them adopt what we are doing. So sometimes we need to stop doing what we are doing and find ways on how to build the trust and credibility here on the corporation side. So that's why in a startup we need to have different minds, different ways of thinking, and different responsibilities. So one of the guys should be working on the corporation side, understanding what they want, what they need to do, and some others taking care of the technology. But in the end, it's about having a really, really good structured plan that the buyer believes in.
How many people have a JTA or want to get a joint development agreement?
I want to get one.
You want to get one? Do you have a template already?
No.
Would it be useful for you to have one?
Yes.
So send me a note on LinkedIn, because we got a government grant from the Department of Energy to create a standardized joint development agreement, which includes IP terms and everything. So that, you know, one of the things we realized in our incubator is that one of the barriers, and I don't know if you guys have encountered this, but like when you're doing a joint development agreement, as soon as you go from between maybe an engineer, like two people, or scientist, engineer, or developer, and then it goes to the legal department. And then all of a sudden, you know, 3 months, 4 months go by, and then you get back a red line thing of it. And so it can often take a year to negotiate a single joint development agreement because of this back and forth. I don't know if you had these kind of issues, but the whole goal of this program was to develop a standardized template that pretty much any legal team within a company, a big corporation, would be comfortable with the terms, so that you streamline the process for getting a joint development agreement. So if you're interested in that, like I could send you a copy. I don't know if you actually, you might actually be interested also. I mean, Norway's going to be a bit different, but the corporate terms are usually about the same. Any other questions? Questions?
If not, I think we are on time.
Are we on time? Yeah, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
10 minutes? Well, I think we're now, it's 1 hour. I think we're 5 minutes over, right? Okay. I'll take any last questions? No? Okay. Well, thank you guys very much for your time.
Thank you.